example, if your dad is, for example, somebody that value education, materialistic accomplishments, and titles in the word, his respect for you is going to be based on what degree you carry, or what school you went to, or what title you have. Not because he hates you, but because that's how he is. That's how he sees the world by default. If your dad does not respect your neighbor or maybe one of his friends because he works in a warehouse or he's a cleaner, how can you expect him to respect you, that you're his son, which is an extension of himself, until you accomplish a higher education? So if you're African Caribbean or if you belong to an ethnic minority, I'm sure you can relate to those videos that you see whenever you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok of creators making funny videos of our parents whenever they're dealing with us.
I have a Nigerian mum. Of course.
What? Of course what?
And the funniest thing in my opinion is the fact that we all belong to different households, but we can all relate in some way to these videos. And it's so crazy. It almost looks like our parents all went to the same school, or they all had this kind of training from the same place, because they all behave exactly the same. Some common characteristics of these videos are things like the unnecessary drama, the harshness, the rudeness, and the beatings. Yeah, the beatings, because yeah, how can we forget about the beatings?
Every denying parent.
And you know, if you have cancer, even you eat one and leave it. No one for what you be next time, I did the way.
Yeah, so it almost seems like we all had the same or a very similar childhood. So many of us are grown now and we're all adults and we love our parents, but there's still a small percentage of us that carry some sort of resentment, or I'm not saying hate, but some mixed feeling towards the way they were raised by their parents.
I just came on here to say that Black parents make me feel like that. They make me feel like that.
And in these videos, we are gonna cover this topic. And if you're patient and you keep watching to the end, I'm gonna show you what, in my opinion, is the best way to deal with this form of resentment if you still carry it. So let's go. Today, people take the word toxic or abuse or big words like that and they slap it on any single thing they don't like so it can make them feel better. And this is not to downplay whatever form of trauma or abuse you went through. It's actually to make you understand that in order to understand why your parents behave the way they behave, you need to remove your emotions from the equation. Our parents came from, most of us came from third world countries to first world countries. I don't know if you're in the UK or in the US or wherever you're watching from. They came here for a better life. They came here with like a mission, something to accomplish. This oftentimes involves having a better life, having a better job, having more money, and many times even involves helping and supporting the family back home. So they have a kind of mindset that they're just infiltrating into this society. They don't really belong here, but they're here to live the bare minimum so that they can survive and provide for themselves and their family back home. And oftentimes they have this kind of mission or structure that they want to follow. And the head of the family, which is the dad or sometimes even the mom, they want to make sure that every single member of the family sticks to this structure. But when it comes to us new generations, our purpose, our goal is usually to blend in, is usually to be part of this society, because that's all we know. Because many of us were either born here or we came here when we were very young. So this is all we know. So we just want to blend in. And that's why our parents are always like older. They're strict. But we are more like free. We want to explore and go out, experience things and live life.
Kofiwa! Yeah, what kind of hair is this? This kind of hair, if the police catch you, like, I can never defend you. If they catch you, that's all. I will tell them, say, the crime, he did it. Gangster hair. Go and cut that. stupid hair.
I can't find my socks. Hey, Mom. Hey. Hey. Where are you going now?
I'm going to my friend's party. It's her birthday.
Hey. So you're going to the club. You're going to party with your friends looking like this. Eh? This is not a skirt. This is not what you call a skirt. This is not a skirt. This is not a skirt.
What do you mean?
This skirt looks like you're gotten toilet roll and then you're just wrap it around your bum and your thigh and you're calling it a skirt.
It's cute.
It is October now. It's cold. Don't be copying these European and English and white girls. You see, English blood, European blood can fight this cold. Just because you are born in this country doesn't mean you now have English blood. Though. These white girls you are seeing in the club and you want to dress like them, they have European blood. Fight this cold. Your blood cannot. You don't even have vitamin D.
With this, I'm not trying to say that your parents' view on life in the West is better than yours or your view is better than theirs. All I'm saying is that both parties needs to come together and understand each other in order to have a solution and have a balanced life together. So let's talk about beatings, another common form of trauma. I don't care who you are, but I'm sure that at some point you go beaten so bad that you cry yourself to sleep thinking that maybe you got adopted or that those were not your real parents, because your real parents can never beat you so hard.
We more than can forget you. There be somebody. Ephraim, you want to eat? Why are you crying for? I said, do you want to eat?
We've all been there. You can either admit it or you can act like you're a big man and they never touched you, but we all been there. There's a lot of people that like to say that beating is not a form of discipline based on love, but it's actually just a way for your parents to release their anger and their stress on you. Like they go to work, they had somebody stress them, or they have anger, they have like financial problems, and they release all that anger on you by beating you. That's what a lot of people think. Do I agree with this? Yes and no.
So me and my friend just had an interesting conversation about how abuse is normalized in African households. In African households, you can go to your friend and tell them that you got whipped with a belt, with a chair. One of my friends told me they got hit with an iron. And this is all normalized. It's something that we laugh over. But if you actually look into a lot of African households, there's a lot of abusive traits that happen in these households that have been completely normalized. The objects that we get hit with in African households, if we was to tell the authorities, we would send them straight to jail.
We need to keep in mind the fact that our parents themselves come from an environment where growing up, beating a kid or form of disciplines where beating and getting physical was actually considered one of the best way to discipline a kid. So when your dad is beating you, he generally thinks that's the best way to discipline you. But it might sound crazy to say this, but that's him showing you love, because in future, one way or the other, you're going to be grateful for that discipline. And I say this because the purpose of discipline is to turn you into a disciplined person. And if you look at what a disciplined person is, it means being able to behave and work in a controlled way, which involves obeying particular rules or standards. A disciplined person is simply someone that is able to carefully control the way they work, live, or behave, especially to achieve a goal. As kids, we are new to this world and society, and we don't know the importance of this. So we automatically just gravitate towards what's funny, what's shining, and what feels good in the moment. But due to lack of experience, we don't even consider the fact that some of these shiny things are not good for us in the long term. That's when our parents come in with their knowledge that we don't have. With their knowledge, they're going to help us to learn and navigate these new worlds and teach us what's good, what's bad, what was appropriate, and all those things. In my opinion, discipline does not have to be based in pain, fear, or any form of negative emotion. It has to be based in genuine care and love. The moment you introduce pain and fear to discipline, it might look from the outside that you have achieved what you want to achieve and you have conveyed the message, but deep down you have just swept everything under a carpet. The kid has not really comprehended and understood why you're teaching him that, why you're beating him, or why you're doing that thing to him. The only thing he's getting is pain, fear.
The last time my dad beat me, he lost his temper and he beat me. And imagine a talkative not talking for 3 days. And I know between himself, my mother, like that, they realized that, okay, this is not okay. And that was the last time he hit me. But if I was a white child and I had gone to school, there's no way Kola would have entered.
Everybody up.
But it was discipline. Do you understand? And it was that thing of even people even saying, don't worry, you will not do it again.
Yeah, so I think where the problem is that I don't have any issue with disciplining your children. You might even smack them or whatever.
Smacking.
But there's a line that is so normalized, that is so bizarre. I mean, your child will
break a glass.
Thing. Break a glass or like
break a plate.
Pour their food on the ground and you have slapped them. When you start to think about it, just like this person, you are like 10 times bigger than them. And any small thing that they do, you've thrown a pair of slippers at their head. And it's just like normal.
For example, it makes more sense for a parent to tell Timmy to don't touch the fire, because if you touch the fire, you're going to burn yourself. So Timmy will understand that he doesn't need to touch the fire. He will associate the fire with danger and he won't touch it. And he will also associate the mom or the dad that gave him the warning as a safety. But African parents will just tell Timmy, don't touch the fire or beat you. We all know what's going to happen. Timmy will proceed to touch the fire, he will get burned, and then he will go crying to mommy, and mommy will beat him even more. And so Timmy now is confused, he doesn't understand, because the fire burned him, so that's pain. Then the mom beat him as well, that's more pain. And now he's confused, doesn't know what's going on. And that's how you create a dysfunctional adult. So when I say fire in this example, fire is just a metaphor for things like drugs, immorality, dressing a certain way, or acting a certain way, like clubbing, or all these little things that if you engage in them, they can lead you in a bad place in life. Like deep down, we all know, growing up, it was always those kids that had very strict parents, that always had to be home by a certain time, that couldn't go anywhere, that always had to ask for everything. And if you ask the parents where the kids were always at the library.
Stop the cap.
It's always these kids that end up going to uni, or as soon as they get a little bit of a taste of freedom, they start doing the madness. Like it's always them ones, because whenever you put someone in a cage for the course of their whole life, as soon as they get a taste of freedom, they want to experience all of it. They want to taste all of it, and they don't know what's good or what's bad for them, what's going to end up well and what's going to end up bad. And that's why I think that beating is just not one of the best ways of giving discipline, because you're not actually disciplining the person, you're just installing fear in them, and they're not actually learning anything. Now let's talk about strictness. Many of you might be lucky one way or the other, you escape the beatings and you never go beaten. And we know it's a lie, but okay, we believe you. But if there's one thing nobody escaped, was the strictness.
I know that you hate me.
That place you went to sleep, from today, henceforth, keep on sleeping outside. Don't you ever in your entire life again come anywhere close to me. I hope you hear what I'm saying. Don't you in this your whole wide world. I send you this voice message. You can equally play it to your mother or whoever. Don't you ever in your entire life come anywhere close to me again. You will keep sleeping that outside till your ending.
Like, African parents can be so strict that sometimes you just don't understand why. We need to understand that our parents really struggle to see their child as a separate entity or individual with their own feelings, emotions, and desires and thoughts. They just see you as an extension of themselves until you grow up, you become an adult, and you prove to them that you're mature. And when I say prove to them that you're mature, I mean prove to them according to their own standards, not according to your standards or to the standards of the world, but according to their own standards. Let's make an example. If your dad is, for example, somebody that value education, materialistic accomplishments, and titles in the world, his respect for you is going to be based on what degree you carry, or what school you went to, or what title you have. Not because he hates you, but because that's how he is. That's how he sees the world by default. If your dad does not respect your neighbor or maybe one of his friends because he works in a warehouse or he's a cleaner, how can you expect him to respect you, that you're his son, which is an extension of himself, until you accomplish a higher education? He will be sincerely proud and happy and he will look up to you the moment you you complete your masters, you complete uni, and you get that title. And what I mean with this is that you shouldn't take the way your parents are and their opinions towards you too seriously, because it's just a reflection of themselves and it doesn't define you. They genuinely just want the best for you according to their standards, obviously, and they will try to achieve that by any means necessary, even if it means crushing you. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'll let you decide that. You also need to understand that our parents came from a very harsh reality. Many of us, not all of us, I don't know if your parents were kings back at home, but many of us came from a very harsh reality, and they were actually always optimizing for survival, and they were always trying to get by. So when if you go back in time and you start talking to them about mental health and therapy and trauma and those things, they're going to look at you like,
do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
It's only now that all this mental health and all these things are more mainstream, and every corner you look at, everybody's talking about their trauma and whatever. I'm not downplaying on this, don't get me wrong, but it's only now that these things are more prevalent. Back in the days, nobody knew what therapy was.
I came across a video this morning in regards to African mothers being toxic. And it got me thinking, like, do you guys think about like what your mothers had to go through growing up? They were neglected, which is a form of abuse. Their emotions were never acknowledged. They were never able to talk to their parents about anything, because it's often said that if you become friends with your child, that they tend to become very rude to you. And from the very beginning, most African parents were taught that. And I believe that's the reason why most African parents aren't really close with their children, because they feel like if they become too close to their kids, they're gonna start to disrespect them. In an African home, being honest or being truthful is seen as a disrespect. You're not allowed to like tell your elders or your mother that they're wrong when you say that like you are a rude child. Now, some African mothers were able to like have a breakthrough from that toxicity, and they learn to kind of be friends with their children and try to understand them from like a emotional standpoint, whereas some of them are just stuck in their old ways.
One thing I want to conclude this video with is that in my opinion, no matter what happened between you and your parents during your childhood, it's your responsibility to take a step towards fixing this, because living with any form of resentment or hatred or negative feelings towards the people that brought you to this world and gave you the gift of life is only going to slow you down in life. It's not going to take you anywhere. With this, I don't mean that you need to become best friends with your parents and share everything with them and become closest with them. All I'm saying is that you just need to take one step towards fixing this relationship. Whatever is the outcome is outside of your control. Just focus on the input. So how are we going to do this? In my opinion, the best thing you can do is just write them a letter. Okay, and I know this sounds wishy-washy and cheesy and you probably click off now, but I mean it. In my opinion, the best way is to write them a letter. Just sit down, remove your ego, remove any, and even if you're right, okay, we know that you're right, okay, we know, but just remove that feeling of and just try to go back in time and try to remember things that your parents did for you that you appreciated, and focus on the details here. This is the secret. Focus on the details. Try to remember when you were maybe 5 or 4 or 6 years old. I don't know how good your memory is. I don't know how far ago in time you remember things. But the further back you can go, the better it is. And try to remember little things that they used to do for you all the time that you really liked as a kid. Try to mention those little things that your parents don't even think that you remember, because they probably thought that back then you did not have consciousness. Okay, you were just an NPC operating on autopilot. You were not a conscious human. But the moment you make them realize that you remember those things, that even if you were a kid, you had the ability to appreciate them, they'll sit down and actually think, and they will start. Something will click in their mind. I don't know how to explain it. And also, if your parents, I don't know what tribe you're from, what part of Africa or what country you're from. If your parents are, I don't know if you're Yoruba, Igbo, or you speak Tree or Asante or whatever, I don't know. But wherever tribe you're from, wherever is the native language, try to go on Fiverr.com, this is the website, and try to find a translator. So write the letter in English and then get someone there to translate it for you if you can afford it. It's very cheap. Translate it and then print it and give it to them, and then run away, because I know it's a bit creepy. It's a creepy thing to do, especially if you're a big man. It's a creepy thing to do, like, but something you got sometimes you gotta swallow your pride and do things like this, because that's the only way you're gonna move forward in life. No matter how they reply, that's not your problem. Like, just focus on your part, just do the input, because some of them are just gonna take the letter and they're just gonna look at you and say thank you, like cold, no emotions, nothing. And some of them are gonna start crying, then you hug each other and you do all that corny stuff, and then okay. But the important thing is that you do your part, okay? You do your input, and that's it. And I can guarantee you that the relationship with your parents will only get better after that. And if you can look me in the eyes and tell me that you're gonna struggle to write this letter because there's not a single thing that you can remember that your parents have done for you during your whole life, then I'm afraid to tell you that you might be the problem, my friend.